I better hit that button. So hi everyone. Nice to see you again on this very, very hot day. We mustn't complain. So this is Sarah Hobbs, if you haven't met her before. She helps me with some of my social media stuff, and she does that for a few different people. And she's going to talk to us today about, what is it, SEO?
Yes, search engine optimization.
Yes, it sounds lovely.
Well, I'm going to debunk it and make it sound really nice
good.
and friendly and more approachable. Right. That's the idea.
Okay, so I'll hand over to you. I'll probably need to make you co-host, do I?
I expect so. If you're sort of staying on for the whole length.
I think I'll have to remove the spotlight to do that for some reason. There we go. So make co-host. There we go.
Right. Okay, and you're going to keep an eye on people.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on people coming in. Yeah.
Right.
So it's all yours, Sarah.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And try to find my presentation. Right, here we are. Okay, so there you go. So can you see my how to make friends with SEO slide?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, right. Yep. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. So just move everyone up a bit. So we're going to start off with an introduction about me, and then an introduction into what search engine optimization is and why we need to make friends with it. And then I'm going to go through 7 easy things you can do to improve your search engine optimization for your website. So if you have a website already, it's really critical information you need to know. And if you're going to build a website in the future, it's just useful to know this and have it in the back of your mind when you're making decisions. So I'll get going. So I'm Sarah, and my company is called Flow Grow Social, which is all about helping people drive traffic between social media and their websites. And I help small businesses save time and tears with social media management, website design, and social media website strategy. So I've been helping Carol since the beginning of the year, haven't I, with Pinterest and Instagram, and uploading videos to YouTube and things like that. So I just take some of the work out of maintaining a social media presence for her, and I do that for some other people as well. And I do website design mainly on WordPress. So I've got a few clients that I've set up websites for. And my experience is, back in 2020, I joined a course called Tech Pixies, which is all about helping women return to work or change careers and learn more about social media. And that's how I met Carol. And I went on from that to do Pinterest. And before that, I used to work for a company which had different owners, but they did warehouse software basically. So I travelled up and down the country helping people put warehouse software in, and I've also been to China and Australia and a few exotic places. And I mainly was doing sort of project management, consultancy, and I was a programmer to start off with when I was in my 20s. I was a junior software engineer, and originally I did maths with German at university and and computing. So that's about me. And I also live in Marlow, which is down in the Thames Valley and quite hot at the moment. Right. So search engine optimization. It sounds really blokey, horrible. It's an acronym. It just sounds really scary. But if you think of it like nurturing a kitten, or maybe knitting a complex cardigan where you need to get certain things in place. So you're going to have to get the right knitting needles, you're going to have to get the right yarns and different colours, and make sure you've checked out your pattern, that sort of thing. So with search engine optimization, when you have a website, there's some sort of rules that you need to follow to make sure the search engines find your pages. So that's the idea there. So search engines are, Google's the one that's most well known, and we use it so much, particularly in the English speaking Western world and Western Europe. and to point in English and in German, we use it as a verb. So you like, I'm going to Google this and that sort of thing. But it's not the only search engine. There are others. So there's Bing, which is owned by Microsoft, Yahoo, which was kind of more popular before Google got so popular. On my options, when I looked into on Chrome, what I could change my search engine to, DuckDuckGo was also an option, but I don't know anything about that. And there's also Ecosia, which is, I think they sort of donate money to eco charities based on a number of searches that are done through their website. So you have all of those running around the world. And so what actually do you do? So one of the things they do is they're crawling the internet, looking at all the web pages they can find and working out what those web pages are about. How good are they at telling people what that page is about, and how popular is it? So how much traffic does it have going to it, that sort of thing. And they're using criteria like, is it mobile friendly? Because over 60% of internet traffic is now mobile based, probably because the phones have got bigger and it's just easier, isn't it? If you sat up on the sofa or sat up on the TV on the sofa, you just scroll or do a Google or something like that. Speed to display, that's a factor. The quality of the content, is it new or recently updated content? And there's loads of other criteria as well that it kind of uses to evaluate all this information. Another URL, sorry, another acronym in this whole of this thing is a URL, and that is a uniform resource locator. But what that really means is it's just a web page, any web page on the internet. So it could be a landing page, a sales page, a blog, someone's homepage, product page, category page, even something like LinkedIn profile, Facebook page, and YouTube videos. So it's just any page on the internet, and it usually starts off with the domain of the organization involved, followed by /, and then there's some text afterwards, and that is what a URL is, or a web page. And these web pages can be on all these platforms. So it could be a WordPress platform or something similar. It could be on Shopify, Etsy, Wix, Squarespace, ClickFunnels, LeadFunnels, social media platforms. So each Instagram post, for example, has its own URL. Each Facebook post has its own URL. Similarly, in LinkedIn. And then the other part of the search engines is that they return the results to the person on the screen who's done the search. So they list the results. Usually, there could be millions, billions of so if you did a search for knitting, there'd be billions of web pages about it. So it does some ranking based on algorithm. So it's looking into, is it mobile friendly? Is it fast? Is it this? Is it that? What's it about? How much information is on this page? So I think, and then you've got another part of this is to think about keywords. So the person doing the search, when they're doing this in their head, when they're going to do the search, they're going to be thinking about things as like, how do I do this? Have they got a problem? Is it a how to? Is it is this particular service? Are you looking for a plumber in Marlow or something like that? So you need to think about your ideal client and what would they be searching for if it's a blog, is it solving a problem? Is it a service you offer? So someone's looking for your service that you're offering. How would they search for that? What are the words that they would use? And an easy place and the simplest place to start is to do some research, and probably start with Google or another search engine. So when you start typing in the search bar, you'll probably see that it comes down with some suggestions if it's a commonly queried search term. So make a note of those. Can you write a blog, for example, involving one of those sentences, something like that? And then on the Google page also, there's another section called People Also Ask, so you can get inspiration from that as well. So I believe my next screen. Yeah, so I did a quick search earlier and copied this in. So I looked for a crochet pattern tech editor, and Carol came out second, but it could be because Carol's included in my cookies, because I do quality work for her. I'm always in Pinterest. I'm always looking at different pages on Carol's website to check what it's about, what size it is or something like that. I'll check if it's knitting, is it crochet? Because I can't always tell. So, and as you can see, so on the page, it's a bit of a cut and paste, isn't it? There was more on the page than this, but you also get a section. So people are also asking about what does a crochet text editor do? So you could write a blog about that maybe, and or how do you become a tech editor? So these are all interesting information, and you know, if you're part of your website strategy is to write blogs, then that's probably good inspiration for something to do. But you also notice right at the bottom of the Google page is it lists the number of pages of results that it has. So this is the ranking part of search engine optimization. You know, if you search for I don't know, navy ladies jumper, you'll probably find that next, and Marks and Spencer's, and the big retailers will come up top because they're probably paid for ads and their websites are huge and they get a huge amount of traffic. So the search engines know that those are the most, those are the most important. So as a small business, it's kind of working out how, doing everything you can to try and get higher up in whatever you're trying to be found for. Right, so if I go into my 7 easy things you can do to be more search engine optimization friendly. So number 1 is make sure that your website, web pages are mobile friendly. So do they look okay? Are the images in the right place? Check that the text, if you've got text on an image, when you're if you're designing something on a laptop screen or a monitor, it's big, it's wide, and you might have the text might be nicely in the middle. But if you look on a mobile, maybe the text is completely over the image and you can't read it properly, something like that. Sometimes things on a mobile, it just squashes everything together, and what might be blocks across your screen will then just go down and they might not be in the order you want them. So that's something to bear in mind. Does the layout look right? And this is all because they say over 60% of internet usage is now mobile, so it's definitely worth checking. And then the other part to speed is the image sizes. So if you use something like Canva regularly, the default type download, if you've got an image, is to do it as PNG on Canva, and you have to remember to change it to a JPEG. JPEGs are smaller in file size, so they load faster, particularly on mobiles and on web pages. So you should only use a PNG file if you need to have an invisible background. So this might be if you have a logo, or is something you're using as a favicon, and a favicon is the tiny little icon that you have on the top of your browser tabs. And so the browser you have highlighted at the moment, that will be white and the others will be grey. And if you haven't got an invisible background, sometimes you can see like a white square around it or something like that, and it just looks a little bit more professional if you can use a PNG. But you just try and make sure that you're mainly using JPGs and only use a PNG if you really, really need to. Right, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper now. So behind the scenes on any web page are some hidden fields, and these are called metadata. And this is what the search engine's used for. So I did a search the other day for my own website, and what you've got is the title there, so services, logo, social, and then there's a description underneath it. And that description actually comes from a meta field, not information on the screen or the page. So if I go a bit deeper, so the meta fields are page title, meta description. There's also some information in the text body of your web page. And if you have WordPress or Shopify, there's a plugin called Yoast, which is like toast but with a Y, and they're, I think they're Dutch, but they help you basically get better search engine optimization, and you go from a you have to do, it tells you what you need to do, all these different things, fill in this, fill in that, and you go from having a sad red face to a happy green face. So that's, if you have WordPress or Shopify, that's worth installing. And if you don't have them, it's worth going onto the Yoast website and seeing if you can do some basic free training with them, because they do explain all of this in great detail about readability and things like that. And it's, you know, you like listening to Dutch people, you know, it's quite relaxing, you know. So, and the other thing is to check for fields on your platform. So if you're not WordPress, and I've seen it on ClickFunnels when people have shared screens of me and some Shopify and things like that, they're usually, this meta descriptions and meta information is somewhere on that page somewhere, and it's worth filling that in. So this is what Yoast is showing on my own website. So and I told you it's a bit blokey and horrible. So search engine optimization also involves the term slug, which is lovely. But that slug is actually just the it's like if my domain is flowgrowsocial.com, then /website-design-marlow is the slug. And so it's important that you, if you think that's your search term, that some of your search term is part of the slug. Obviously you don't, there's a length to this, that, you know, length limits and stuff like that that might cause trouble, but you know, it's worth trying to get something into your page name. And also on Yoast, there's a box to fill out meta description, and you get about 150 characters to get the information across. And that means when you get your web search result back, then it's the information you've put in and you're controlling it. If you don't do it, the search engine, or you know, so if someone shares your post on LinkedIn or something like that, then it might not be what you expect pops up. So it's really worth filling that in, and to make sure some of your keywords. So I've got website design Marlow as the first sentence there, so that's in there as well. So that's really important. But I will warn you, so if you've already got a website and you already have pages that exist and you think, oh no, I should have done that, you can't don't just change the name and do anything like that. You'd have to change, you can change the name of the page, but you'd have to make sure you've got a redirect from the old name of the page to the new name of the page, because you'll have lots of links. You might have them on Pinterest, or you might have them on social media, and already the search engines will have them listed in their indexes. So it's important to just do a redirect on your website for that. Right, number 3, the page title. So make sure you've got your keywords that the ideal client would search for in your page title. So I just went for website design in Marlow, so in this case. And the meta description, as I said earlier, this is what you want to fill in to get control over what gets displayed in the search results. Number 5 is to repeat keywords on the page a number of times. So you need your keywords at the very top of the page, preferably in the first paragraph or in the first sentence. Repeat those keywords every 300 words or so. Have a subheading every 300 words or so, and then if you can put the keywords in a subtitle as well. But at the same time, you need to make sure it's nice and enjoyable to read, and it doesn't look just like a list written for a computer to understand. So I suppose that's the trick. That's why people employ copywriters, because they know how to get those words in. Right. Number 6 is behind every image, it's got some data behind it, and there's a field usually called alternative text, alt text. So you make sure you've got your keywords in that as well. So even if you weren't going to put an image on there, do. So in this case, I've got a page on Pinterest account management, and I created an image in Canva with the text on it. And so I've repeated that as the alt text to make sure I've got a bit more search engine optimization on that page for that service that I offer. And the final thing to do is to make regular changes to your website and pages, because it's it like Google or whichever search engine, it likes fresh content. And so if you can either add blogs regularly or update the pages that you do have regularly, that's really worthwhile. And a blog doesn't have to be called a blog. You could rename it news or events or something like that. Okay, so is there any questions? As usual, I've talked really quickly.
I knew about JPEG, I think, and PNG, but I never really thought about it. Because when I download from Canva and it says PNG, I just say, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't really, because I'm mainly using them on, social media and stuff. So
yeah, I think the social media sites themselves, I think they probably do some sort of conversion or something like that,
okay,
for their own purposes for displaying. But I think it's the images you have on your web pages, on your website.
Okay.
Yeah, I think yours generally are JPEG. The ones that I've taken to reuse on Pinterest.
Yeah, they might well be, because most of them are quite old. I think I do need to do some stuff on my website. You make me feel bad now.
Yes, same here. I just got a quick question about, you said make regular changes. How big do the changes have to be? I mean, is there a sort of, can you just go in and change a word every now and then and that would be sufficient? Or
yeah, I think so, because your page gets a time stamp on it, so it's kind of looking to what's changed recently, and then it will force it to research your site.
okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have to be that much different then, if it's based it on timestamps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could, maybe in your case, Carol, you could maybe update, I don't know, the dimensions or something like that, the items that are being made or something like that, or change the wording around, or
okay, so it doesn't have to be a big massive effort then.
No, I think you'd get obviously the more brand new pages you add, you'll get more points, more Google points for that.
Yeah,
but just it's, I think just doing any updates is better than not doing any at all.
Yeah. Okay.
So in some ways, if you're a done not perfect person, that's quite good, because you kind of think, right, often I did go, right, I've got the basics, it's working, people can read it, and then I go back in a month or so later, maybe change it around and add it, and that's fine.
Okay.
I'm probably going a bit off topic here, but it just occurred to me. One of the things, I have a WordPress website.
Oh yeah.
And I have an online shop which is on Etsy, but I'm getting increasingly ticked off with the cost of their fees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is it relatively easy to add your own e-commerce bit to your website, like a Shopify thing, and start listing?
So WordPress has WooCommerce, so that's free. So it's free to download as a plugin. Probably, you just need to make sure that maybe there's some more secure things you need to be a bit more aware of, security wise. But it's quite only because people start creating accounts. If they buy from you, they start creating accounts. So you definitely need to be registered with the ICO, because you're then a data controller. So which isn't, it's £35 a year or something. It's just like you need to be more careful. Make sure your passwords are secure and strong, and if it offers two-factor authentication, do that. So, and I'm sure there are lots of YouTube videos out there on how to add WooCommerce to your website.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. That's
So I've
the
done it
way
a few
you'd
times.
you'd
Yeah,
recommend to go, is it?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
on my long list of things to do.
yeah, so I'm
One of these
helping.
days it will get to the top.
Yeah, I am helping someone who's been on Etsy, and she's not that technical, but she's decided to start her own Shopify account, and they make it sound really easy, and the conversion, it just took all this information from Etsy and just popped it all onto this Shopify website, and we're going, oh great, that's just really easy, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But then it turns out, a bit like WordPress, that you need lots more sort of plugins and this and that to actually, and something you have to pay for to get things like so like custom reviews aren't there on Shopify, you have to add something else for that. So yeah, but there are I quite liked watching Daryl Wilson. If you look, I think it's Daryl Wilson. He's like got loads of YouTube videos, and he's done things like that on WooCommerce, and then try and find one that says 2022. So it's current versions.
Okay. Oh, that's useful. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, it's well, if you're already paying for the website, then it's probably cheaper than trying to go for Shopify. But you might find that you need more. You might need to up your hosting package, because it might not have enough power storage to support WooCommerce, because it uses more, computer thought, thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to look into it. It's not
Yeah.
really bumped up the to-do list much yet, but
well, I can enjoy watching Daryl Wilson
when I get really bored. Yeah. Okay. Thank
it's
you.
really easy on the eye.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other questions, or do you think, what do you think your community often have questions about on websites?
I don't know, because we've only just really started going into the business side of things on the community, rather than knitting and crochet sort of business side. But it'll be interesting, because I know a few people are trying to get websites up and running. So I'm sure we'll have quite a few views afterwards.
So I think there's lots of options out there when you want to set up a website. So one of them, if you just want one page, you can there's a free one called card.co. It's CARRD.co, and for free you can create a single web page. So if you're if you're just starting up and you're not sure what you're doing, or funds are difficult, then that's a starting point. And then the companies like Wix and Squarespace, and there's one called create.com, they offer it's like everything together. So you can choose a bit of a look and feel when you go with them, but they're like the servers that run your website, the kind of the tool that you use to build the web screens, and you're very much tied into them. And you don't get that much control, and they're not so good. They're not so good with like making things look different on mobile, for example. Wix struggles with that. You don't get as much control.
I've got that issue with mine. I feel like I haven't got that much control over mine, because that was built by the people I got the domain from, which are called names.co.uk. They build websites as well. But I mean, I've sort of figured out how to change some things, but I just feel like it's not mine sometimes. I get into there and I think, oh, well, I can't do this and I can't do that, or that's an extra add-on, or that's a. But they did put e-commerce in for me, but I have no idea what platform it's on, and I can't seem to find out, what the underlying platform is, which makes it hard if you want to add plugins in and things. But it's a bit frustrating.
If you migrate off of it, then there's not going to be an easy way to do it either.
I think if I got somebody, say like you, to build me a website on WordPress or something, I think we'd virtually have to start from scratch probably.
But
I suppose if I had more control over pages like the blogs and that, then I would do more. The reason I don't do much on that site is it's all a bit clunky, and it just, I think, is it worth spending all that time doing stuff? So
that's the thing with WordPress. It was originally written as a blogging platform that was easy for people to put blogs on before like things like Facebook got really big because
Yeah.
do you remember life before Facebook?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I got, I remember working in China, and that's before Facebook and stuff like that, so in some ways WordPress makes it easy for you to just add a blog, but I think as the computing world's got more complicated, the thing with WordPress is that your host can do some of the security, but you get all these options of all these plugins that you can add, and a lot of them are free, which is good, but it's like, I've got a sort of set that I use for security and for making things run faster and stuff like that. And so you sort of have to add some of your own plugins, and it's kind of it's flexible, but I think it's a bit daunting for some people as well. That's sort of the
it's
difference.
just having all these different things. I mean, because I use, obviously I use ClickFunnels for the course stuff, and I find that really easy to use. It's a bit frustrating sometimes, but then Paula helps me out, and I find it really easy to use, but I couldn't imagine having all my patterns and everything else on there. I mean, maybe I could, I don't know, but it just seems.
So I suppose the thing with having like WordPress and WooCommerce or using Shopify is that it makes it, once you've got that combination, it's all about setting up an online shop and making it easy for you to add products, and managing the stock and things like that. So I don't know what yours looks like on the back end, but you kind of get a big grid of with your inventory and orders and things like that.
Mine's not great for stock management. That's an add-on. Another add-on.
And I suppose this is it. It's a bit like social media. There's no one social media channel everyone uses anymore, and there's no one. People use all kinds of different combinations of sort of website stuff. And I think ClickFunnels, they specialized in having complex sort of, I suppose, high converting sales funnels. So someone goes onto one page and then they click on one thing, and it could take them to another page, and they go, well, do you want to add this on? Do you want to add that one? And that's where I think things like ClickFunnels, there's one called Lead Funnels as well. That's what
I mean. I think it works quite well for the courses, but I can't imagine using it for the patterns and products and kits and things.
I don't think you can't even add a blog easily either, I don't think.
No, I don't.
Because you can add a page, but with WordPress you can add a blog, and then you've got a blog page, which I think you can choose the order which they appear, usually like the newest first or something like that. So that's what that's kind of what WordPress is about. But I've used WooCommerce, and that's good. I'm setting that up for a film engineering company at the moment.
Cool.
Very interesting, because I don't actually know what their bits and pieces are. Is there any other question?
Anybody else? Because I've sort of hogged the questions there. Shirley, have you got a website?
I have a website for my surveying job.
Okay.
But having listened to what Sarah had to say, I think I've got a bit of work to do on it. And it's certainly going to be useful when I do eventually get around to setting up one for my tech editing.
Okay.
So I had some idea about SEO, but lots of useful information, so I've been scribbling it all down. So I've got some work to do.
Me too.
It's a never-ending job as well. It's on these things. It's like, oh, can I change this?
It's never finished, is it?
There's a lot more to there, and there are other tools you can use for search engine optimization as well. So if I just go back to share my screen again. So I've got another next steps. Oh, I've got a blank page. Wonders of Canva presentations. So if any of you'd like to contact me, you can just email me at sarah@flowgrowsocial.com, or follow me at flowgrowsocial.com on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest. And I do have a newsletter, so if you go to my website you can sign up for that. So if you have any WordPress issues, I can do one-to-ones with people and do some troubleshooting. Or if you want to know, you have a one-to-one with social media with me, you can contact me. And then in the autumn, it's a bit work in progress at the moment, I'm going to have an online course for running Instagram as a business, and I'm also going to start up a website confidence membership to help people
cool.
with who maybe they've already got the website, they might have designers, people who manage it, or maybe they're running their own, but just to do things like search engine optimization and understanding more about security and the things like the cookie banners,
Oh yeah.
all the legal requirements and that sort of thing. So and if you jump on the newsletter, then you'll definitely get a message at some stage in the future, and you definitely won't get spam because I haven't done the newsletter regularly for ages. So. It's just one of those things that's coming soon.
Cool.
Can I
Thank you
just
so much.
ask one last
Yeah.
question? Just you mentioned, you touched briefly on the legal things there.
Yeah.
Is because I remember a few years back all the GDPR stuff and what a lot of work that was to get that sorted out. Have you got any feel for how that's changing, is going to change, might not change now that we're not in the EU?
I think I'm fairly sure it's going to stay the same, and I've heard that it might get stricter if you probably won't affect anyone in this community, but if you're dealing with children using your website or your app or something like that, I think things are going to get stricter. And in my previous job, I was at one of our biggest retailers, and they were having meetings with the government about GDPR, and they were saying, even after Brexit, that won't change, it might get stricter. So also the other complicated thing is you don't actually know where the person looking at your website is coming from. So if you're selling products, then they could be from the EU, they could be an EU citizen. So you've just got to assume that they are, or they're, California as well, and I think Canada have got quite strict laws similar to GDPR. So I think you've just got to, aim for those standards of data control. And it's right, because you wouldn't want your own data to go missing, would you?
No, it's absolutely right, but it affects the decision about whether I go away from Etsy or not, because at the moment they're handling it all, and it's just I think I might just keep that little box shut for the moment.
So what's the sort of fees on Etsy at the moment, Jane? I mean, I don't know how they work because I haven't been on there for a lot,
because you pay per listing,
okay,
and then you pay per transaction, and it's just, all I know is that when I look at on my holy spreadsheet, I look at fees versus what I'm taking in sales. It's quite soul destroying, really.
Yeah.
So what's the fees like at the moment? Because it used to be something like 15p, and when I was trying to sell lavender bags or something,
I couldn't put a price on it at the moment off the top of my head, but it was about 20 cents or something like that per listing. I've just renewed a whole load because you have to renew them, and then that costs.
Yeah.
So that's a regular thing.
Yeah.
So it's and because of Brexit and stuff, I don't ship outside the UK now, so I'm not getting the full potential. So okay, I think
but
that
then
little box
I suppose if you go to WooCommerce,
you'd still have your PayPal fees, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and PayPal's it's better to use Stripe or something else.
Is it? Right, okay.
Because the thing with PayPal is that it's all about protecting the consumer, which is fine if you're my other half actually. So the whole nightmare trying to order some spare car parts or something from some people and the whole story, but you got a refund anyway. But PayPal, people can just ask for a refund through PayPal, and there's no discussion with you, it just happens. And so you'll get charged some of the fees and things like that and have to return the money. Whereas if you're using Stripe or something like that, there has to be a conversation with yourself about why.
Stripe's really good. I really like Stripe. I started using that. I don't like PayPal because they just the fees never seem to make sense. They just seem to slap on big fees now and again without any explanation. But Stripe, everything is fixed and it's quite easy to use.
Oh, there's some useful things there. Thanks very much. That's some useful things
Stripe
to follow up.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It takes a little bit of help. Paula helps me with it because it's a little bit technical, but once you get going, it's fine. Stripe's good. And if it's a
Great.
fixed amount, then you know what it's going to be. So there's
Yeah,
no
I
big
think
surprises.
I think it's 1.4% plus 20p
Is
in the
it?
UK.
Okay.
But they, Shopify, their pricings, you either pay less per month and they take more of your sales,
Yeah.
or you pay more per month, they take less of your sales, something like that.
Yeah.
So they're all taking money as handling fees.
Yeah. So definitely Stripe. So there's a good one for you, Jane. Okay. Any more questions, ladies? Oh, I'm melting.
Okay. Yeah. So am I.
Right. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Sarah. That's brilliant. It's all recorded for the other people.
Yeah. So if anyone has any
Community.
questions, just because I'm not in your Facebook group or anything, so you'll have to.
Yeah.
Point them in my direction. That's fine.
Will do. Definitely.
Okay.
Okay
Yeah,
then.
thank
Well,
you
lovely
very
to meet you
much.
all.
You too.
Thanks,
Thank
Sarah.
you.
Bye.
Bye.